Welcome back to the EJ Ward Field View Training Series. In this video, we're going to be going over the terminal status page. So to get there, we need to drop down the status folder here, and then we can go to terminal status. Once the page fully loads, this is showing us all of our terminals inside of the system and what status they're at. Now there's three different colors that you're going to see. You're going to see a silver color, which means everything's all good with that terminal. You have the red color, which we can see quite a bit of in this system. And then you have the blue, which means it's selected here. Now you'll actually see this move throughout while we're talking about this because we have auto refresh on, and every 30 seconds it's going to cycle through these. If you don't want to cycle through these, you just have to uncheck the auto refresh checkbox up here and it's not going to cycle to the next terminal. So if you want to view the terminal, you can just click on the button. So let's say I wanted to look at 82, I can just click on 82 and it's going to load it up for me. I can also check up here at the top to show only the alarms. So it's only going to show the alarms. It's going to take all the ones that are full normal status away from me. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that so we can get one back there. I have this to where I can open up in a new window, so I can put this on a separate screen if I wanted to, or if I have three screens, I could put this on one, and then I also have show TLS status, which we'll go over here in just a bit. So here on the right-hand side, we have all the things that we can do with this terminal. So for instance, with this one, it is a Ward 4 FCT, so we can do a request terminal call, and this link will pull up a pop-up where it tries to actually connect to the terminal and it will try to talk to it. Since I don't have this physical terminal there, it's not going to do anything, but it will go through step by step of where the call's going, and it just pulls that terminal to grab information from it and send information down to it. We also have the address of the site and our city, state, and zip of the site if that's filled out. You can see that this one isn't filled out except for the state. We have our terminal code, and then we have our site code as well. We have the status of it, so this is whether or not people can fuel. And then we have our network status, which is part of the reason why this is red, is because the network status is offline. So this means that I can't ping it, I can't talk to it immediately. The status means that the last known status of it was online, and that means that people can still fuel at it because our terminals can fuel if they're in an offline state as far as the network goes. And then when the network comes back, it's going to offload all of its transactions, gather any new data that it needs to, and it'll continue fueling as normal. We have our last known communication to the terminal itself. We have the last transaction that came in from the terminal. And then we also have the next expected communication, which we can see this is in red because it's already passed. And then on the right-hand side, we have our site code, our last status update. So if it gave us a status update and what it was. We have our last network update and when the last network update was. We have our last TLS communication, so if your ATG or your TLS communicated, and then we have the next expected communication for the TLS or the ATG. Once again, this one's in red because it's past the date, so that means there's an issue and we need to actually take care of it. Most of the time, if you have the TLS service or we're calling the TLS through other means, this really doesn't mean anything here on the right-hand side because it's not automatically going through FieldView, we're calling it in other ways. Below all this information, we have the information of why it's red. So we have that it missed a communication time, that the terminal network communications is offline, and then we also have that tank 3 is approaching the reorder level. And that we can see below. So below we have the tank itself, and it shows us what the tank number is and what fuel type it is. And then it gives us a visual of how much fuel is inside of it. So I have about 21% fuel. It's showing yellow here because it's approaching our reorder level, which is what that red line is, but it's not added or underneath it. If it was added or underneath it, it's going to show red. This little yellow bar is going to show red, and it's going to actually go down. And as you can see, the one below it is just fine at 66%. It's green, and everything's good. The other thing that you can notice is that this has a red outline to the whole box, which means there's an issue. And then the yellow outline outside of that is just showing that it's approaching the reorder level, but it's not at reorder level or below it yet. We have our information as far as the level itself, so this is in detailed information, what the capacity of it is, and what we have the reorder level set as. Then we have the temperature, if we get the temperature from the TLS or the ATG, the water level, and then anytime you do a leak test or how much leakage is going out through it, it'll show that there as well. If not, it's just going to leave it blank. Then we have the last 24 hours, how much fuel has gone out of that tank in the last 7 days and the last 30 days. And then once again, it tells you what's wrong with that single tank itself. So here you could actually really see how much fuel is being used and kind of gauge how much fuel it's going to be using in the future as well. On the right hand side of that, we have our pumps. So if a pump was in bypass or it was in offline, we'd be able to see that here. Where it says auto here, it would say bypass, or it would say off or offline. If it says any of these, and when the pump actually goes offline, it will say offline in the middle of it. So the pump might be in auto, but the pump is offline because it had 5 0-gallon transactions, or something might be going wrong with it. What we can simply do is click on the pump itself, and that's going to open the pump record for us. So we can check that, change it, and let's go ahead and turn this pump offline and save it. And once that's been saved, we're going to go ahead and refresh this. So now you can see that it's covered in red and it shows offline in the middle. So if I wanted to rectify this, let's say a pump did go offline and we just need to turn it back online, I can click on this, I can select online, hit save, and then my pump is online again. And once that's saved successfully, we'll go ahead and click on the number 2 again, and now my pump is back online and it's ready to be used. The next thing that we can do with this is if we are looking at an IoT terminal, it's going to be a little different. So with the IoT terminal, we don't have as much information at the top, but we also have the link is not call terminal or request terminal call, it's terminal manager. Because we don't call the IoT terminals, we go ahead and just click on that and it's going to open up the IoT terminal manager screen and it's going to go straight to that terminal so we can take a look at that terminal and change anything that we need to. So right now this one is online, but it's unable to communicate through other ways, so we can't see the pump status right now, which is not too much of an issue. And the main issue is that we have it online, so its status, its network status is online there. And if we needed to change anything, we could change it right there and we'd be good to go. The last thing that we have with the terminal status page is the show TLS status. And this one is very much like the tank status, and I'll be going over the tank status in the next video. But show TLS status is going to break this down by site. And here we can see all the different sites that we have, and it's mostly the same information. We would have any TLS alarms or something that might be coming through along with that. And we just have all these different sites that we can click on. And as we go through here, it's just going to give us the tank information as we can see it. Now, the biggest difference to this is that we can see the tanks, but we can't see like the actual picture of the tank that we did before and showing how much volume in it. It's just the detailed information that we can get from these guys. Now to close this one up, we can go ahead and close that up. You're more than welcome to keep the terminal status page here, or as if you're going through it, you can come back to terminal status if you want to. So we can go away and then just come back to it anytime that you want to, or you can open this up in a new window. You can continue going through FuelView itself and then just come back to terminal status and close out the other window if you just want to keep it inside of here. And that concludes the video on the terminal status page in the FuelView system. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.